Something horrifying just crawled out of Edward's legal team. Official documents confirming the structure of his titles have surfaced, and what they reveal has sent shock waves through royal circles. 0:11:11 seconds. King Charles is named his youngest brother, Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh. A title held of course by his late father, Prince Philip, for more than 70 years. 0:2020 seconds. These documents confirm that Edward simultaneously holds two titles operating under two completely different legal systems. One title dies the moment 0:29:29 seconds she does. But the way those two titles collide has exposed something about his son James' future that the palace has fought hard to never explain publicly. 0:38:38 seconds. James is only 15 years old and this structure has left his future in deep crisis. The worst part, Charles made 0:45:45 seconds. This decision pushed by Camilla. The palace is on fire right now and what is coming next is only going to make it burn harder. 0:54:54 seconds. The man they never took seriously. 0:57:57 seconds. Those titles came to a man who had already lost everything else. His reputation, his dignity, his father's respect, and the British press made sure. 1:051:05 seconds. The whole world had a front row seat to every single moment of it. In February 1987, before Prince Edward ever got any 1:131:13 seconds titles, he walked off a Royal Marines training base after 4 months and never went back. He was 22 years old. The Sun 1:211:21 seconds off Prince Philip, a man who had served in the Royal Navy during World War II, commanded ships under fire and built his entire identity around discipline. 1:291:29 seconds toughness and duty. Philip did not hide what he felt. Those close to the family described him as furious. His youngest 1:371:37 seconds son had quit in public in front of the entire country, and the British press destroyed him for it. Prince Edward became the royal everyone laughed at. 1:461:46 seconds. While Charles had served in the RAF and the Royal Navy, and Andrew had flown combat helicopters in the Falklands War. 1:531:53 seconds under live fire, Edward had lasted 4 months in training and ran away. That image, the prince who quit, followed him 2:002 minutes like a shadow everywhere he went. After walking off that Marine base in 1987, Edward drifted. He had no clear 2:082 minutes, 8 seconds direction. For a prince of the British royal family, that kind of public aimlessness was its own embarrassment. 2:152 minutes, 15 seconds. The press noticed, the palace noticed, and Philip noticed most of all, and all these would eventually influence the shocking title decisions he made. 2:242 minutes, 24 seconds. Eventually, Edward gravitated toward theater. He took a job with Andrew Lloyd Webber's production company, Really Useful Group, a British prince working 2:322 minutes, 32 seconds in show business. Palace traditionalists were horrified, but Edward was not finished making decisions that would damage him. In 1996 he went further. He 2:412 minutes, 41 seconds left Lloyd Webber's company and launched his own television production company. 2:452 minutes, 45 seconds, he called it Ardent Productions. The palace was deeply uncomfortable. The press was openly mocking. But Edward pressed forward. For 5 years, Ardent 2:542 minutes, 54 seconds operated in the background producing documentaries and royal content. Then in 2001, Edward made the decision that 3:023 minutes, 2 seconds ended everything. William had just started his first term at St. Andrews University. He was 19 years old and it was one of the most sensitive moments of 3:113 minutes, 11 seconds his young life. The palace had spent months carefully negotiating a media protection agreement with every major press organization in Britain. The deal 3:203 minutes, 20 seconds was specific and deliberate. Leave William alone. Give the future king the chance to experience university life as 3:273 minutes, 27 seconds, a normal young person without the press hunting him daily. Every major outlet had agreed to honor it. Edward's company broke it. An Ardent Productions crew 3:353 minutes, 35 seconds traveled to St. Andrews specifically to film William. They filmed him walking across campus going about his daily life. And they did it not out of 3:443 minutes, 44 seconds accident or confusion. They did it to produce commercial documentary content about the royal family. They were going to profit from footage of the future 3:513 minutes, 51 seconds king that every other organization in Britain had agreed not to take. When the palace found out the reaction was something closer to disbelief, followed 4:004 minutes by rage. This was not a tabloid that had ignored an agreement. This was Edward, the king's own brother. Charles was 4:084 minutes, 8 seconds furious. The palace released a formal statement making clear the royal family's position. Edward was forced to issue a public apology. Arden Productions shut down shortly after 4:194 minutes, 19 seconds. Edward's television career was over. But even that was not the heaviest thing Edward was carrying before he ever got 4:264 minutes, 26 seconds. These titles. From the late 1980s straight through the 1990s, the British tabloid press ran relentless speculation about Edward Sidey. 4:354 minutes, 35 seconds. He was unmarried into his mid-30s. He worked in theater and television. In the tabloid culture of that era, both facts were treated as deliberate signals of 4:444 minutes, 44 seconds, something the palace was hiding. In 1995, the News of the World stopped speculating and made a direct claim. The 4:524 minutes, 52 seconds paper published a story based on a named source, a man called Daniel Sanderson, who alleged a sexual relationship with Edward. The palace denied it completely. 5:035 minutes, 3 seconds. Edward said nothing. Not then, not the year after, not ever. He absorbed it in complete silence because engaging with 5:115 minutes, 11 seconds it would have made it worse. For over a decade, that narrative ran freely in the press while he stood there and took it without a single direct public response. 5:205 minutes, 20 seconds. By the time he announced his engagement to Sophie Rhys-Jones in 1999, Edward was 35 years old. He had been publicly 5:285 minutes, 28 seconds humiliated over the Marines, mocked for his television career, had his own company blow up in his face over his 5:355 minutes, 35 seconds nephew, and had spent more than 10 years as the target of tabloid speculation he could never address. Some commentators 5 to 4:45 minutes, 44 seconds noted openly and cruelly that the timing of the engagement announcement was convenient for the palace's image operation. When the wedding came in June 5:525 minutes, 52 seconds 1999, everyone expected one thing, a dukedom. That was how it worked. Charles had become Duke of Cornwall. Andrew had 6:006 minutes become Duke of York. Edward was next. It was considered automatic. Instead, the palace announced he would be an Earl, the Earl of Wessex. The decision to take 6:096 minutes, 9 seconds and earldom rather than a dukedom was reportedly Edward and Sophie's own choice. They wanted a lower profile than a senior duke would bring, but the 6:186 minutes, 18 seconds specific choice of Wessex as the title is where the story gets strange. Edward had reportedly watched the 1998 film 6:266 minutes, 26 seconds Shakespeare in Love, in which a character named Lord Wessex is played by Colin Firth, and had been drawn to that specific name. A Prince of the British 6:346 minutes, 34 seconds. Royal family reportedly chose the name of his earldom because of a character in a period drama. That detail never 6:416 minutes, 41 seconds appeared in any official statement, but it has never gone away. But the palace added something alongside that announcement, something that was 6:506 minutes, 50 seconds supposed to compensate for the unexpected step down in status. 6:546 minutes, 54 seconds. Buckingham Palace publicly confirmed that the plan agreed between Queen Elizabeth, Prince Philip, and the Charles was that Edward would eventually 7:037 minutes, 3 seconds receive the Dukedom of Edinburgh, Philip's own title, one of the most historic and prestigious titles in the entire royal family. Not immediately 7:127 minutes, 12 seconds, but in due course. The promise was made publicly, and Philip had staked his name on it personally. Now before this story goes any further, here is what you need: 7:217 minutes, 21 seconds to understand clearly, because this is the double title at the center of everything. Edward was sitting on two titles simultaneously. The earldom of 7:307 minutes, 30 seconds Wessex, his from 1999, and the Duke of Edinburgh, promised but not yet given. 7:367 minutes, 36 seconds. When the Duke eventually arrived, those two titles would exist inside the same family at the same time, but under 7:437 minutes, 43 seconds. Completely different legal systems. One would end with Edward's death. One would continue past it. One would die with him. One would pass to James. That handover, that exchange is the switch. 7:557 minutes, 55 seconds. That is exactly what Edward's lawyers have now formally confirmed in official documentation. And that confirmation is what has blown this entire story open. 8:058 minutes, 5 seconds, but before he ever got that second title, Edward waited. He kept his head down. He built a quiet, consistent 8:128 minutes, 12 seconds public presence alongside Sophie. He had made mistakes that cost him everything and he knew it. So he stopped chasing 8:198 minutes, 19 seconds personal ambition entirely and simply became what the institution needed and the British public noticed. Slowly, then 8:268 minutes, 26 seconds completely, they forgave him. The man they had once mocked and dismissed became one of the most quietly beloved 8:338 minutes, 33 seconds royals of his generation. As all these went on, the title he was promised remained there. Edward never demanded 8:408 minutes, 40 seconds it. He waited for years. Then Philip died in April 2021. The Queen died in September 2022. Both gone. The two 8:498 minutes, 49 seconds people who had made that promise were now in the ground. And the only person left who could honor it was the brother who had watched Edward quit the Marines 8:578 minutes, 57 seconds, watched Ardent destroy the family's trust and watched him absorb a decade of tabloid destruction in silence. That 9:059 minutes, 5 seconds brother was now king. And what Charles did next came very close to burying the promise with Philip. The dying wish 9:129 minutes, 12 seconds Charles almost ignored. Philip had been dead for less than 3 months when the story landed. In July 2021, the Times 9:219 minutes, 21 seconds reported that Charles, then still Prince of Wales, had decided he would not give Edward the Duke of Edinburgh. The wish Philip had carried and stated publicly 9:309 minutes, 30 seconds for over 2 decades. Charles was walking away from it. Clarence House did not deny the report. No correction, no 9:379 minutes, 37 seconds pushback. The silence from Charles's office confirmed everything. The reaction was not quiet. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Royal 9:459 minutes, 45 seconds correspondent said it directly. Charles was dishonoring his father's dying wish. 9:509 minutes, 50 seconds. The Duke of Edinburgh award community was devastated. Edward had shown up for Philip's program faithfully for years without ever seeking credit for it. The 9:599 minutes, 59 seconds idea that he would now be denied the title attached to his father's greatest legacy by his own brother was something people could not swallow quietly. They 10:0810 minutes, 8 seconds said it plainly. This was not institutional policy. This was personal and Charles needed to hear it. But Charles had his reasons and each one of 10:1710 minutes, 17 seconds them was darker than the last. The first was the slimmed-down monarchy. Palace advisors were pressing Charles hard. The 10:2410 minutes, 24 seconds direction of travel was clear. Fewer titles, fewer working royals, fewer senior figures permanently embedded in the public-funded royal structure, 10:3310 minutes, 33 seconds giving Edward a full hereditary dukedom cut directly against that logic. It would lock another branch of the family into the senior structure at exactly the moment Charles was trying to shrink it. 10:4410 minutes, 44 seconds his advisors were telling him to choose the institution's future over his own brother's inheritance. And for a significant stretch of time, Charles was 10:5310 minutes, 53 seconds listening. The second reason was Scotland. In 2021, Scotland was in the middle of a fierce political battle over 11:0011 minutes independence from Britain. Nicola Sturgeon was leading the charge and the movement was gaining serious momentum. 11:0611 minutes, 6 seconds the Duke of Edinburgh title carries Scotland's own capital city in its name. 11:1111 minutes, 11 seconds palace advisors warned Charles directly. Recreate this title right now and independence campaigners will use it as 11:1811 minutes, 18 seconds proof that the monarchy is aggressively planting its flag in Scotland at the worst possible moment. So Charles made 11:2511 minutes, 25 seconds a cold calculation. He put Edward's inheritance on hold to protect the monarchy's political position. A promise 11:3211 minutes, 32 seconds made by a dead man to his son was sacrificed for palace strategy. The third reason is the one nobody has 11:3911 minutes, 39 seconds formally examined and it is the most uncomfortable of all. By 2021, Camilla was Charles's wife, the woman about to 11:4711 minutes, 47 seconds become queen. The internal dynamics of the palace had already shifted permanently around her. Anne Sophie, Edward's wife, carried a complicated 11:5511 minutes, 55 seconds history with that shift that has never been openly addressed. Sophie had been close to Diana. While most people inside 12:0212 minutes, 2 seconds the royal family kept their distance during the worst years of Diana's marriage breakdown, Sophie was one of the very few who stayed warm toward her. 12:1112 minutes, 11 seconds. Those were the years when Charles and Camilla's affair was quietly destroying Diana from the inside out. Diana described what those years felt like in 12:2012 minutes, 20 seconds recordings she secretly made for the author Andrew Morton in 1991. In those recordings she described a moment in 12:2812 minutes, 28 seconds 1989 that she never forgot. She had confronted Camilla directly at a party. 12:3312 minutes, 33 seconds. She told Camilla she knew exactly what was going on between her and Charles. Most people would have backed away. 12:3912 minutes, 39 seconds. Camilla did not. She stood her ground and challenged Diana back. She asked Diana what she thought she could offer Charles. 12:4612 minutes, 46 seconds that Camilla could not. Diana said it was one of the most devastating moments of her life. That was the history sitting. 12:5312 minutes, 53 seconds in the room. Sophie had stood on Diana's side during those years. Camilla had been the woman doing the damage, and now 13:0113 minutes, 1 second. Camilla was Queen of England. Insiders strongly suggest Camilla influenced that decision directly, and the reason was 13:0913 minutes, 9 seconds personal. Sophie had stood firmly by Diana during the worst years. Camilla never forgot that. And now that she was 13:1613 minutes, 16 seconds Queen, now that she had Charles's ear on every decision that mattered, some believe this was her moment to make Sophie and Edward feel exactly what it meant to have been on the wrong side. 13:2713 minutes, 27 seconds, and then Camilla's own family was pouring fuel onto the chaos at exactly the wrong moment. In 2001 her son Tom Parker B.S., 13:3613 minutes, 36 seconds had been caught in a News of the World sting, photographed taking cocaine recorded discussing drug deals. He was 13:4313 minutes, 43 seconds 26 years old. The story ran under the headline Cocaine and the King's Girlfriend's Son. This was the family. 13:5113 minutes, 51 seconds now sitting at the center of palace power. This was the world Edward was navigating while waiting to find out if his dead father's wish meant anything to 14:0014 minutes, the man now wearing the crown. Edward said nothing. He kept working, traveled, represented the family, smiled at 14:0814 minutes, 8 seconds engagements, and said nothing in public about any of it. Then February 2023 arrived. Nicholas Sturgeon resigned. The 14:1614 minutes, 16 seconds, immediate Scottish independence momentum broke. The political window that had stayed shut for nearly 2 years cracked. 14:2314 minutes, 23 seconds open almost overnight. And on March 10, 2023, Edward's 59th